So I have an interesting puzzle for you. So what goes through water without getting wet? Let's start off with a puzzle. So what do you think is the answer of this question? So what goes through water without getting wet? Excellent. I see a lot of you have the right answer. The correct answer is light. Because light can go through water without getting wet. You know that light is not matter, it's energy. And we are going to be discussing energy. Good, somebody said sound too. Sound is also the right answer because light, sound, they're forms of energy and they can go through water without getting wet. Excellent. So I know you must be knowing these things, that there are different sources of light. And as you can see here, the sun is a natural source of light, right? And the bulbs and lights that we have, these are all man-made sources of light. So there are different sources of light that we see in our everyday life. Now, how do you define light? Just as we talked about right now, light is a form of energy. It's a form of energy like sound, right? We talk about potential energy, mechanical energy. Light also is another form of energy. And what does light do? Light causes a sensation of vision. So remember these key points, that light is a form of energy and it gives us a sense of vision. Because you guys know that when there's a lot of light, you can easily see the trees and the surroundings. But when there's less or no light, it's very difficult to see the things, right? Because we see objects by their reflection of light. Now this is an interesting question and a very important point. Does light need a medium to travel? Now what does this word medium mean? So all of you need to be clear about this. Medium basically in physics or science, it means material. So the question is, does light need a material to travel? Okay, I see some people saying yes and some people saying no on the chat. So what do you think is the right answer? The answer is no, because light is an electromagnetic wave. Okay, and light is a wave which does not need a material to travel. And what's the proof of that? We know that light can even travel through, so light can travel through vacuum. And vacuum means there's no material, no medium. Excellent. I see a lot of no's out there. That's the correct answer, because you know that the sunlight which is coming to the earth, a large part of it's traveling through vacuum. Only when it reaches the earth, it enters the atmosphere. So remember, light does not need a medium to travel. But if you compare it with sound, sound is a mechanical wave that needs a medium to travel. Now let's talk about some important terms of light. So what do we mean by these terms? A ray of light and a beam of light. So in this picture here, can you tell me where is the ray of light here? Is it the first picture or the one at the bottom? So ray of light is this single line, right? This is our ray of light. And ray of light is more like the top picture, right? So ray of light is more like a concept because it's very hard to get a thin single ray, right? You might be thinking I'll use a laser pointer, but even remember, a laser pointer is made up of many rays, right? And those collection or many rays is what we call as a beam of light. So ray of light is a concept where it's like a line in mathematics, right? So here we are considering a single ray of light, a thin line of light, and a collection of rays makes a beam. Yeah, that's right. A beam is a group of rays. Very good. So keep all these important points and terms in your mind. Now we can have different types of beams. Remember, beam was a collection of rays. So here I have shown 3 different types of beams. Let me just number them. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Let's start with the third one. So can you tell me what type of beam is the third one? The one at the lower end of the screen. So number 3, what do you think? What type of beam is this one? Very good. I see Nivedita, Kamala, they've got the right answer. Excellent. This is a parallel beam of light, right? Because can you see the parallel rays of light? So this is known as a parallel beam. Now what do you think will be the name of the first one? Where can you see that the rays are coming together and meeting at this point here? Okay. So what do you think is number 1? Okay. So number 1, very good. I see some people are writing the correct answer. It's a convergent beam. Because can you see that the rays of light are meeting at a point? And what is number 2? It's the opposite of number 1, right? It's a divergent beam, because can you see that the light rays are going away from the point? So this is called a divergent beam. Okay, so keep this in mind. Convergent means that they're coming together and meeting at a point. That's number 1 here, this one. So this, can you see that the rays of light are meeting at this point? Let's call it P. So that's a convergent beam. Number 2, can you see that the light rays are moving away from the point P? So can you see that they're diverging out? So it's called a divergent beam. And the third one is a parallel beam. Excellent. Okay, so keep these important terms in mind. Now let's go to the detail about what is the definition of reflection of light. Okay, so reflection of light is defined as the bouncing back of light rays after hitting a surface. So let's understand this with a simple example. So a most common surface is a mirror, right, for reflection of light. So we know that when light falls on a mirror, so let's say this is our light ray here. Okay, so when it falls on the mirror, it bounces back off the mirror. Just like a ball bouncing back on a wall, similarly, light hits the mirror and bounces back after hitting the mirror surface. So this is the meaning of reflection of light. Okay. Now the question is, does a mirror only reflect light, or let me ask you, can a paper reflect light? So the question is, can this piece of paper here, we know that a mirror can reflect light, but does the paper also reflect light? What do you think? Okay, I see Venkat, Nazneen, they are saying yes. Very good. So keep this important point in mind, that a great example of reflection of light is a mirror, but a paper also can reflect light. Okay, so paper, book, even you and me, we are all reflectors of light. Because for example, if I wasn't reflecting the light, you won't be able to see me in the video. The camera won't be able to capture me. So everything around us, remember, is reflecting light. Whether it's a mirror, it's a polished surface, a paper, a wall, please understand this important concept. Everything is reflecting light. Okay. So then what is the difference between the mirror here? So that's the interesting question, that what's the difference between the mirror and the paper? Do they reflect light in the same way? The answer is no. Okay. So they don't reflect the light in the same way, and that's what we're going to discuss. A mirror does what is known as regular reflection. Okay, and we'll talk about it. And what does a paper do? It does scattered reflection, or what's known as irregular or diffuse reflection, right? So keep this important point in mind. A mirror does regular reflection and a paper does scattered reflection. So let's understand what does this mean. So if you take a parallel beam of light, okay, so I'll try to draw a parallel beam here on the mirror. What happens after reflection? The beam remains parallel. So my diagram is not perfect, right? But I'm trying to draw it here for you, that the parallel beam will remain parallel after reflection. But what about scattered reflection? So when you throw a parallel beam of light, okay, on the paper surface, so let's draw the parallel beam here. So when a parallel beam of light hits the paper surface, it gets scattered in different directions. Okay, so what is the important concept? In a regular reflection, the parallel beam after reflection remains parallel. But in a scattered reflection, the parallel beam after reflection, can you see, it does not remain parallel. So this is called scattered or irregular, or sometimes known as diffuse reflection. Okay, but remember, all the objects are reflecting light because that's how we see them. So regular reflection is by a mirror or a polished surface, right? A polished metal surface, something which is shiny, and things like paper, book, the walls, curtains, you and me, we are example of scattered reflection. Okay, very good. So I hope you are getting the concepts, and if you have any doubts, you can put it in the comments. I'll reply to the comments after the live session because I may not be able to answer all your doubts here, but I'll try my best, and just keep focusing on the concepts and points that we are seeing. Now let's talk about the important laws of reflection. Okay, and one thing before we go to the laws of reflection, our focus is going to be on regular reflection. We are not going to focus so much on scattered reflection because we are going to be looking at mirrors. So what is the laws of reflection state? The first law states that the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal at the point of incidence all lie on the same plane. That's a huge sentence, right? But don't worry, I'm going to simplify it for you. And the second law states that the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. So let's understand this with a simple example. So here we have our mirror. Okay, so here what I've shown is a mirror, and these dashed lines over here that you see, this is the back of the mirror. And you know that the front, the top part, which is the polished, is the the shiny part of the mirror, the reflecting surface, right? So now we are going to draw a single ray of light hitting the mirror, and we'll understand these laws of reflection. So when it hits the mirror like that, this is the incident ray, right? So I'm going to label it like this, incident ray, and this is our reflected ray. And what is this normal? So normal is a line which is drawn perpendicular to the surface of the mirror and at the point of incidence. So this point here, O, that you see, O is the point of incidence here. Okay. Now let's look at the second law first. It states that the angle of incidence, so let's say this angle here is, let's say 30 degrees, okay, or 40 degrees. Let's say this angle is 40 degrees. So that is called the angle of incidence, the angle the incident ray makes with the normal. And this angle that the reflected ray makes with the normal will also be 40 degrees. Okay, so can you see that the angle of incidence 40 degrees is equal to the angle of reflection 40 degrees here. Okay, so both the incident ray and the reflected ray, the angle they're making with the normal, not with the mirror. Okay, the angle they're making with the normal is same. So that is our second law. Now let's look carefully at the first law, which states that the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal at the point of incidence. So point of incidence is O here. They all lie on the same plane. So can you tell me what is the same plane over here? So what do you think is the same plane? Where is the plane over here in this diagram? So let me give you some options. Is the plane, so one option of the plane is it the mirror, or is it the surface of the screen that you're seeing here? So the screen, or is the plane the normal? So those are my options for you. So is the plane the mirror, the screen, or the normal? So I see a lot of people are, Nazneen, Vijay Kumar, a lot of people are saying mirror. Somebody is saying surface of the screen. Satyam Kumar is saying that, right? So I've given you the options. What is the same plane over here? So this is a very common misconception. Mostly we get this wrong. The answer is not mirror. Okay, so it's not the mirror, it's not the normal. The correct answer is the surface of the screen. Or basically, so what do I mean by the surface of the screen here? So the plane here is this surface. So this entire thing that I'm highlighting over here, right? So this thing is the plane. the flat surface on which the incident ray and the reflected ray are lying. Okay, so I'll just erase those lines. So where are the incident ray and reflected ray lying? They are lying on this screen, right? Just like when you lie down on a bed, you're lying on the bed. Here the incident ray and the reflected ray are lying on the screen. So please remember, the same plane here is the screen here, the flat surface on which all the three things, the incident ray, the normal and the reflected ray lie, is called the plane. And here it is the screen or the flat surface. When you draw this picture on your paper, it's going to be the paper. When you draw it on a blackboard, it's going to be the surface of the blackboard. So please remember this important misconception, that the plane is the flat surface on which these rays lie. Okay, and the second law is very simple. Angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection, but remember, it is the angle made with the normal. So this angle 40 degree, it's not 50 degree. So this angle, can you see, is 50 here, the angle the incident ray makes with the mirror. But that's not what we are talking about. We are talking the angle made with the normal. Okay, excellent. Somebody is saying that Nivedita is saying that these laws are also applicable to sound. Excellent, that's right. These laws of reflection are applicable to both light and sound. Yes, and somebody said that's called the glancing angle, 50 degree. Very good. I didn't use that term here. So this angle is actually called the glance angle or glancing angle. But we are talking here of the angle of incidence or angle of reflection. Excellent. Now I have a question for you. What is the angle of incidence and reflection in this case, where the ray of light is hitting the mirror and it's hitting perpendicularly on the mirror? So can you tell me, we need to solve two things here. What is the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection here? So I see some zeros, some are saying 90. So how do you solve this? So first thing you need to think about is, what is the normal here? So the normal, can you see, will be the same line, because the normal lies 90 degree to the mirror. Now what is the angle this yellow ray, the incident ray, is making with the pink colored normal? So can you see that they are lying, they are both the same line. So the angle between the two lines is 0 degree. That is the correct answer. Very good. I see most of you have got 0. And since angle of incidence is 0, so angle of reflection also has to be the same thing here, because we know from the second law, angle of reflection equals angle of incidence. So both are 0. Excellent. So remember, this is not 90 degree, this is 0. So in these cases, we were looking at a plane mirror. Now let's talk about spherical or curved mirrors. And I would encourage you to try this. So next time you're eating food, please play with your spoon, because your spoon is an excellent example, right? And try to use a big shiny spoon where it's a very good example where you have this kind of curved mirror. So till now we were talking about a plane mirror which has a flat surface, but now we are going to talk about spherical or what is known as curved mirrors. So one side of the spoon is one form of a curved mirror and the opposite side is the other one, right? So let's see. So here when I'm looking at this, the first picture here, so let me mark them 1 and 2. So when you're looking at this picture, can you see that the spoon is curved inwards? Okay, so the spoons look something like this, where you're looking into the spoon which is curved inwards. So what type of mirror is the first picture? Good, I see some people writing concave. Excellent, that's the right answer. So this mirror, this example is a concave mirror. Because why? A concave mirror is curved inwards. Okay, and you can see that my image in this spoon is actually inverted. So this is a concave mirror. And this mirror, the second one, is a convex mirror. So let me write that again. So this mirror is a convex mirror, because can you see it is bulging or curved outwards. Okay, so this is a convex mirror. So there are two types of spherical mirrors that you need to know: concave mirror, convex mirror. And the way I remember it, concave mirror is as if you're going into a cave, you're entering a cave and it's curved inwards. So this is a concave mirror. And the one which is curved outwards, the opposite side of the spoon. So when you flip it, when the shiny side is bulging or curved outwards, that's a convex mirror. Okay, so very good. So now I would encourage you that go ahead and play with your spoon next time when you sit for your lunch or dinner, and go ahead and take a look which side is the concave and which side is the convex mirror, right? And one thing is, a concave mirror, you know, can give an inverted image, but a convex mirror will never give an inverted image. So that's one clue for you to use. Now I have some different pictures here. So can you tell me in this picture 1, 2, 3? Can you identify the types of mirrors here? So what do you think is picture number 1? So picture number 1, very good. I see some of you are saying plane. So Amit Raj says plane. A lot of you are saying very good. So the first one is a plane mirror, right? The simple mirror that we use to comb our hair, right? The one that we use. So that is a plane mirror. Now what do you think? And plane, be careful, the spelling is P-L-A-N-E, not P-L-A-I-N, right? So this is a plane mirror. What about the second picture? So where you can see that I am using that to shave. And a shaving mirror, do you know what is a shaving mirror? So some of you are saying convex, some are saying concave, some are saying plane. No, remember, shaving mirror is a special type of mirror which is used to magnify the face so that it's easier to shave. So it's either used as a shaving mirror or a makeup mirror. So what do you think is this type of mirror, the second one? So the second one is a concave mirror. Okay, because a concave mirror magnifies the thing. Of course, you can use a plain mirror to shave, but when we say shaving mirror or makeup mirror, please understand we mean a mirror that magnifies the face so that it's easier to shave or do the makeup. And so this is a concave mirror. Very good. And now what do you think is the third mirror? So that's going to be our convex mirror. And you might have seen this used on street intersections or in parking lots, right? Where you can get a greater field of view. So these mirrors which bulge outwards, and you can see that if there are any other cars approaching or not. So very good. I see a lot of you are writing that is a convex mirror. So with these simple examples, I would encourage you to remember the types of mirrors and look for them in your daily lives. Rather than just learning it up, try to associate it with examples that you see and try to find the different types of mirrors. So excellent. Now let's go ahead and see. So we talked about this plane mirror, concave mirror, right? So this was our plane mirror. This was our concave mirror. And this was our convex mirror. So what is the difference of these mirrors when it comes to light rays? Let's understand that. So in a plane mirror, I'll just draw that again. So let's say there's a parallel beam of light falling on a plane mirror. So what do you think will happen? So when the parallel beam of light hits the plane mirror, it's going to get reflected back. Okay. So plane mirror simply reflects back the light. But what does a concave mirror do to a parallel beam? So what do you think is going to happen here? So when we take a parallel beam of light hitting a concave mirror, what do you think is going to happen? The answer is it's going to converge the light rays. Converge means bring them to a point. So after reflection, the parallel beam will converge at a point. And this special point, do you know what it's known as? So this point is called the focus of the concave mirror. Okay. And let's see what's the difference, what happens for a convex mirror. So again, we'll take our parallel beam of light, and can you see it's hitting the front of the mirror because those dashed lines represent the back of the mirror. And what does this guy do? It's going to diverge the light rays. Okay. And so they will appear to meet at a point behind the mirror. Okay, so my diagram is a bit rough here, but I think you're getting the point what's happening here, that these light rays get diverged and they appear to meet at the point which is known as the focus. So can you see that? here the parallel ray just gets reflected back, but a concave mirror is a converging mirror. It converges the parallel rays. And a convex mirror, this is the important thing to remember, this is a diverging mirror. So that's the difference in action. So please remember these points. Concave mirror is a converging mirror. It converges the light rays to a focus, and a convex mirror diverges the light rays and they appear to be coming from a point behind the mirror, which is called the focus. Okay, and I'm sure you'll see these pictures also in your textbook, so go ahead and revise them carefully. Now before we talk about ray diagrams for spherical mirrors, first let's understand the ray diagram for a plane mirror. So let's say we have an object here. Let's say an object AB is placed in front of a plane mirror. So how do we draw a ray diagram for this object? So let me show you some very simple tricks how to do this. Before you draw any light rays, first let's use this cheating trick, because we know that before drawing any light rays, we can simply draw the image. Why? Because we know that in a plane mirror, the image height is equal to the object height, right? And the image distance is equal to the object distance. So this distance here, let's say this distance is 5 centimeters. So this distance, the image distance is also going to be 5 centimeters. And the object height needs to be exactly equal to the image height. So that's, now we've got our image. Now you can easily draw the rays. And remember, the rule is you need to draw two rays from a point. So if we consider the top of the object A, then we can draw these two light rays, and after reflection we know they're going to meet at A dash, okay, because we've already drawn our image, and so you can just reflect them off here and trace it back. So this is the simple trick of how to draw a ray diagram for a plane mirror. Same way you take the bottom of the object B, again you just draw two rays here. So I'm going to draw two light rays. Let's extend this mirror, right? And now again same thing, they will appear to be coming from B. Okay, I'm drawing this quickly so it's a bit rough, but I think you're getting the point. So this is the simple trick, that first draw the image and then you draw the light rays for a plane mirror. Why? Because we know exactly the image will be formed behind the mirror. It's going to be the same height as the object and it's going to be at the same distance. Now the important question is, can you tell me what are the properties of the image formed by a plane mirror? So what are the properties of this image formed by a plane mirror? Very good. So somebody's saying, so Vijay Kumar says it's same size, right? This image is formed of the same size. It's virtual. That's an important point. We'll talk about this is a virtual image. Can you see that it is upright? Right? It's not inverted. Okay. It's the same size. It's not magnified. And where is it formed? It's formed behind the mirror. And the other properties are that image distance equals object distance, and you can also say that it's laterally inverted, right? So it's virtual, upright, same size and formed behind the mirror, and very good, it's laterally inverted also. Okay, so these are the properties for a plane mirror. So this brings us to this important point that there can be two types of images, real image and virtual image. And as we saw here, a plane mirror forms a virtual image. So when you're standing in front of a plane mirror, remember the image you're seeing is virtual. Now why is it virtual? Because it cannot be taken on a screen. You can't capture that image. It's behind the mirror. But a real image can be taken on a screen. And an example of a real image is when you go to watch a movie, then the image that you see or the movie that you see on the screen is a real image because it can be captured on a screen. Now one very important point is a real image is always inverted, okay? But a virtual image is always upright, or we say it is upright or erect, right? It means the same thing. So a real image is inverted, but a virtual image is always upright or erect. And now why is it called a real image? Because the light rays actually meet, okay? But can you see here that in a virtual image, the light rays did not actually meet at A dash B dash, they were appearing to meet. We had to trace back the light rays. Okay, so this is the important point, that the light rays, they appear to meet in a virtual image. So these are the important points for differences between a real and a virtual image. And the key thing to remember is real image is always inverted. So we always say real and inverted, and virtual and upright, or virtual and erect. Okay, so please remember these very important concepts when you're reading the reflection of light chapter. Excellent. So now let's talk about the ray diagram for spherical mirrors. So let's say if we have an object in front of, so this mirror that we've shown here, this is a concave mirror, because can you see it's curved inwards, right? And this is the back of the mirror, these dashed lines. So this is the back portion here. Can you see this is the back of the mirror and this is the front. So this is a concave mirror and this is a convex mirror. And now when you place objects in front of these mirrors, and we need to place it on the left side because in front of the reflecting surface, can we predict where the image is going to be formed? So my main question is it going to be as simple as this diagram? So we did the simple diagram for a plane mirror, but what will be the ray diagram for a spherical mirror? Can we just draw the, can we just say, oh, the image height equals object height, let's put the image and then just draw the rays? Can we do that? Very good. Gautam is saying no. Ali Mullah Khan is saying no. For this ray diagram for spherical mirrors, you can't simply copy the object like we did for the plane mirror. These ones are more complicated and we need to use light ray rules. Okay, so this is an important point here, that you just can't simply draw the object. So let's talk about the concave and convex mirror diagrams and its rules. So first thing, we need to understand some important points here. So concave mirror diagram, can you see it looks like this, where it's curved inwards. So this is the reflecting surface, this smooth surface here, and this is the back of the mirror, the dashed lines. Okay, remember that. Now let's talk about the important terms here. So this center of the mirror is called the pole. Okay, this point is called the pole. And this is a spherical mirror. Now why is it a spherical mirror? Because it's part of a larger sphere or a circle, right? So can you see it's part of a larger sphere, and the center of the sphere is known as center of curvature. Okay, and where is the focus? So guys, can you tell me where is the focus of the mirror? So C is the center of curvature, P is the pole. So let me write those words here. P is the pole, C is center of curvature. And where is the focus of this mirror? Half of C. Excellent, right? So the focus lies exactly in between P and C. Okay, so this distance, let's say you've drawn it as 2 centimeters. This is also going to be 2 centimeters. So please remember that. And this line which joins the pole to the center of curvature, this is known as the principal axis. Carefully note the spelling. This is called the principal axis. So these are the important terms of a concave mirror. You have the pole, which is the center of the mirror. C, the center of curvature, is the center of the sphere that the mirror is part of. And F, the focus, lies exactly between P and C. And that line joining P and C is called the principal axis. Okay, so is this point clear to you? Just be careful of the spelling of principal. It's principal, P-A-L, okay, not P-L-E. Very good. Same thing we can do for a convex mirror. So where is the pole of the mirror? It's again the center of the convex mirror. The center of curvature, can you tell me, is it going to be on the left side or the right side? Where do you think is the center of curvature of this mirror? So for the convex mirror, where is the center of curvature? On the left side of the pole or the right side? Or yeah, some people are saying behind the mirror or in front of the mirror. Very good. It's on the right side or it's behind the mirror. And it's very easy to understand why. Because when you complete this sphere or the circle, can you see? It's going to be like this. My circle is a rough one, but can you see that the center of curvature is going to be behind the convex mirror? For a concave mirror, it was in front. So be careful. And for convex mirror, it's behind because the circle completes like this. And again, the focus is going to be exactly in the center. So when you're drawing these, so this distance, right? So here, this one is going to be, let's say 2 centimeter. This is also going to be, oops, this is also going to be 2 centimeters. So how do you draw these diagrams carefully? So basically place your compass at this point. So go and place your compass at the center of curvature, and then you draw this arc, and you can see the radius of the arc is going to be 2 plus 2, 4. Okay, so that's the trick of drawing either the concave mirror or the convex mirror. So again, I'm repeating, place the compass at the center of curvature and draw this arc, and the radius of the arc should be 4 centimeters, 2 plus 2, and then place your focus exactly in the center. So you need to draw the ray diagrams. To draw the ray diagrams accurately, you need to draw the concave and convex mirror diagram perfectly. So make sure the focus is exactly between P and C, and draw these arcs using a compass, whether you're drawing a concave or a convex mirror. These are our two curved or spherical mirror. Can you see that arc there? So this arc is what I'm talking about. You should draw with the compass, and the compass point should be at C. So please remember that. Okay. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the light ray rules for a concave mirror. So as I told you, why do we need these rules? So that we can predict where the image is formed. Okay. So because we cannot simply copy the object and make the image, right? We need to use some important rules. Now let's talk about the first rule for the concave mirror. So in the first rule, we are going to take a ray which is parallel to the principal axis. So guys, do you know where this ray will go? So the ray which is parallel to the principal axis is the line joining P and C. After hitting the concave mirror, where will this go? Very good. I see Srinivasa has said it passes through the focus, right? Excellent. So this is the right answer, that this ray after reflection is going to pass through the focus. So I'm going to draw it like this. So the ray which is parallel to the principal axis after reflection passes through the focus. Now one important point is, and these are the points, right? This is the pole, this is our focus here, and this is the center of curvature. So one important thing is the concave mirror and convex mirror, do they follow the laws of reflection, these curved mirrors? So what do you think? So the question I'm asking is, do these curved mirrors, are they following the laws of reflection? What do you think? So I see a lot of yes over there. Yes, yeah. Okay, what do you think? Very good. The correct answer is yes. Just because it's a curved mirror, it doesn't mean that it's going to disobey the law. The plane and curved mirrors follow the laws of reflection. And let me explain you why. So if you draw this line, so if you join from the center of curvature to this point of incidence here, let's call that the point of incidence, let's label it as I, let's say here. Okay. So this line is going to basically be this dotted line that you see here is going to be the normal at the point of incidence, because here if you use the maths concept that the center of circle is normal to the tangent here. So this part of the mirror is like at the point I is like a tiny plane mirror. So please understand this, that a curved mirror is consisting of many tiny plane mirrors. So even that point I is like a tiny plane mirror, and so it is following the laws of reflection. So what does that mean? That if this angle, let's say, is this angle of incidence is 10 degrees, then what is going to be this angle of reflection? It's again going to be 10 degrees. Okay, so the angle of incidence is going to be equal to the angle of reflection even for a concave mirror. So absolutely the laws of reflection are followed here. Okay, and that line joining the C and I is the normal. And please remember, whenever you join from the center of curvature to the curved mirror, you're basically drawing the normal. Why? Because the line from the center to a curved surface is a tangent to that. So there we are using the tangent to the circle. So we are using that maths concept here. Okay. Now let's look at the second light ray rule. So this is going to be the opposite of the first one. So let's say the ray of light is passing through the focus. Okay. So let's say the ray of light passes through the focus and hits the concave mirror. Where do you think this is going to go? I see Amit Raj is saying, please upload this video. Definitely, after we finish the live session, I'll upload it. So in case you've joined right now, you can watch the initial part. So where does this light ray go after passing through the focus? What do you think? So I see Nivedita said it becomes parallel. Nazneen is also saying parallel. Very good. But parallel to what? Right? Parallel to the principal axis. Oops, I didn't draw it parallel. So I'll go to draw it again here. So I hope that looks parallel. So this ray of light after reflection passes parallel to the principal axis. And can you see rule 1 and rule 2 are exact opposites of each other. So for rule 1, the parallel ray passes through the focus after hitting the concave mirror. And for rule 2, the ray of light which is going through the focus after hitting the concave mirror becomes parallel to the principal axis. Very good. Aftab also says parallel to the principal axis. Excellent. So rule 1 and 2 are opposite of each other. So it's very easy to remember them. And again here guys, if you join this center of curvature to the point of incidence, again that's going to be the normal. So if this is 10 degree, again that's going to be 10 degree. Oh sorry, I should draw the incident angle first. So this is 10 here, I, and the R is also going to be 10. Clear? Now let's go ahead to the other light ray rules. So one more light ray rule for the concave mirror which is important is what happens to when the ray of light passes through the center of curvature. So let's say we have our ray of light like this. So what do you think is going to happen here? So the ray of light passing through the center of curvature. Let me give you a hint. Just like we said that any line which joins the center of curvature C to the mirror is a normal. Okay. So remember that this ray that we've drawn here is basically like a normal to the mirror. So where do you think this light ray is going to get reflected? Very good. I see that people are writing. So Rajnikant Kumar has written it comes back on the same path. Excellent. It does return back on the same path, right? So the ray of light passing through the center of curvature gets reflected back through the center of curvature. And why is that? Because it's a normal. And we saw that when a normal hits a plane mirror, because this point here, right, this tiny point I is like a tiny plane mirror over here. So it's just going to get reflected back along the same path. So that's the important rule for a concave mirror. And now the fourth rule that we are going to look at is when a ray of light is incident at the pole. Okay, so let's say the ray of light is something like, okay, let me draw that again. So the ray of light is something like this, incident at the pole here. So it's hitting the pole P here, right? So where do you think the ray is going to go? So let's say this angle here is 20 degree. The angle of incidence is 20. Where do you think this? So this ray of light is also going to get reflected like this, right? And what will be the angle of reflection? Reflects with the same angle. Excellent, equal angles. Oops, my ray is gone. I need to draw that again. So it's going to get reflected exactly the same angle, because can you see that CP is again the normal here? So this is like our tiny plane mirror over here at the pole. So we have a tiny plane mirror at the pole, and the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. This is the fourth rule. Okay, so these are our four important rules for a concave mirror. So this is the first rule, passing parallel to the principal axis. That's the second one, which is the opposite of the first. And these are rule number 3 and 4. Now, one important tip here is avoid using rule 4 when drawing your ray diagrams. Okay, why we should avoid rule 4? Because it's very hard to measure angles accurately with the protractor. So the 20 degree is very hard to measure. So avoid using this rule unless the question directly gives you this light ray, right? Suppose it says the ray is hitting at the pole, where will it go? Then you can mark that. But avoid using rule 4, or basically don't use it when you're drawing your light ray rules. You need to use 2 out of the first 3 rules. And why 2? Because remember, when we were looking at the plane mirror, from each point on the object, we drew 2 rays. Because 2 rays are sufficient to find the image. So we drew 2 rays from A, 2 rays from B. So similarly here, you need to use, so what is the important thing to remember? You need to use 2 out of the first 3 rules. Please remember that. So 2 out of the first 3 rules. Okay. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the light ray rules for a convex mirror. So again, it's the same thing. So for a convex mirror, when the ray of light is parallel to the principal axis, where do you think it's going to go? It's going to get reflected, but this time it's a little tricky because it's going to appear to come from the focus. Let me just draw that again here. So it's going to appear to be coming from this point focus, right? So the ray of light is going to get reflected like that and appear to come from the focus. So that's the difference, because here the focus is behind the mirror. And similarly, a ray which was going towards the focus. So what will be the second rule? So ray of light which was going towards the focus. Okay, it's a little hard for me to draw these diagrams on the screen, so let me try again. So the ray of light which is going towards the focus, okay, after reflection, what do you think is going to happen for the second one? Right? Very good. I see people are saying parallel. Mahesh says parallel. Hazard says parallel, right? So it's going to come out parallel to the principal axis like this, right? Because can you see that rule 1 and 2 are opposite of each other? In the first rule, can you see the ray of light is parallel to the principal axis? After reflection, it appears to come from the focus. For concave mirror, it passed through the focus. But for a convex mirror, it appears to come from the focus. And the second rule is the ray of light going towards the focus, it can't reach there because it hit the mirror, will come out parallel. Okay, excellent. Now let's go on to the third rule for a convex mirror. So in a convex mirror, when the ray of light is going towards the center of curvature, so let's say the ray of light is like this and it was going towards the center of curvature C here. So what do you think is going to happen to this ray? So what do you think will happen here, guys? So when the ray of light for a convex mirror is going towards the center of curvature, where will the reflected ray go? It goes back along the same path. Excellent, right? Because again, remember, it's a normal here. So this guy is going to go back and return in the same path, just like a concave mirror. So the ray of light going towards the center of curvature after reflection returns back along the same path. And let's go for our fourth rule here. So what does the fourth rule say? It's very similar to a concave mirror. So let's say this is the incident ray which is incident at the pole. And let's say this angle is 20 degrees. So where do you think the reflected ray will go? So the reflected ray should go something like this, right? And what will be the angle of reflection here, guys? So what is going to be the angle of reflection here? Excellent, 20 degrees. Because again, this is like a tiny plane mirror at the pole. So the laws of reflection are obeyed even for curved mirrors. So even for concave and convex mirror, the laws of reflection are obeyed. So 20 degree is going to be the answer here. Okay. So here, look, we've talked about all the important rules. We looked at the light ray, the 4 light ray rules for a concave mirror. And I said avoid using the fourth one. Same way for a convex mirror, avoid using this rule. Again, people ask me, why should we avoid? Because it's very hard to measure angles accurately with a protractor. So please avoid using this rule. You'll get inaccuracies in your diagram. So again, for drawing the light ray, use the first, use 2 out of the, so I should write use 2 out of the first 3 rules. Okay. So use the first 3 rules and select 2 out of them. It doesn't matter which 2 you take because you'll still get the same answer, whichever 2 are convenient for you. And so select 2 out of the first 3 rules when you're drawing the light ray diagrams. So we won't have time to look at the diagrams. We'll probably do that in another session, but I encourage you to watch the light videos because I have a lot of videos on light. There's reflection of light, there's video on concave and convex mirror, and image formation by spherical mirrors. So I encourage you that after this live session to revise the concepts, go through